Before the penny, life in Anglo-Saxon England was a rather fiddly affair. Imagine trying to buy a loaf of bread or a chicken. You couldn't just hand over a few shiny coins. Instead, you'd have to barter. Perhaps you'd offer a handful of eggs, a bit of wool, or maybe even promise to help your neighbor with his harvest next week. Trade was personal, local, and often quite complicated. For anything bigger, people used gold or silver, but not as coins. They used it as bullion, weighing out little bits of metal on scales. It was all very cumbersome and not at all convenient for the everyday person. It was a world without small change, a world waiting for something revolutionary. And then it arrived. Sometime around the year 785, a powerful Mercian king named Offa decided to create something new. He introduced a small, flat silver coin. It was called a pening, which we now know as the penny. This wasn't just a whim, it was a stroke of genius. King Offa had been traveling and had seen the sophisticated coins used in the Frankish Empire and the Islamic world. He wanted his own kingdom, Mercia, to be just as modern and respected. So he created a coin that was reliable, consistent in weight, and stamped with his own name. For the first time, people had a standardized piece of money they could use for all sorts of daily transactions. The impact was immediate and profound. Suddenly, trade could happen more easily and over longer distances. A farmer in one village could sell his produce to a merchant from a town many miles away, and both would understand the value of the silver penny he received in return. It oiled the wheels of the Anglo-Saxon economy, making everything run more smoothly. You could pay taxes with it, buy land with it, and even pay legal fines with it. The law codes of the time are filled with references to pennies. A stolen pig might cost you 30 pennies, for instance. The penny wasn't just money, it was the very fabric of this new, more organized society. For centuries, the penny was the king of coins, mainly because it was the only coin. There were no pounds, no shillings, just the humble penny. If you needed to pay for something that cost less than a penny, you didn't have smaller coins. What did you do? You simply took your penny and cut it in half or even into quarters. These were called halfpennies and farthings, a four-thing. This is why so many old pennies have a cross stamped deeply into the back. It acted as a handy cutting guide. It tells you everything about how essential this single coin was. It was the alpha and the omega of money, the single unit of account that everyone, from a king to a peasant, understood and used every single day. A penny was never just a piece of silver. Oh no, it was so much more than that. It was a tiny portable billboard for the king. In an age when most people were illiterate and would never see their monarch in person, the penny was their most direct connection to the ruler. Every coin was stamped with the king's head on one side and his name. This wasn't just for decoration, it was a powerful statement of ownership and authority. When you held a penny, you were holding a piece of the king's power in your hand. He was telling you, "This is my kingdom, this is my silver, and I am in charge here." It was a constant, physical reminder of who held the ultimate power. This made the minting of coins an incredibly important and jealously guarded royal privilege. Controlling the money meant controlling the country. When the Normans invaded in 1066, one of the first things William the Conqueror did was seize control of the mints. He understood that to be seen as the legitimate king of England, he needed his face on the pennies. He continued the Anglo-Saxon tradition, but with a Norman twist. His coins showed him facing forward, stern and unyielding, a clear message to his new, conquered subjects. He was their new boss, and his pennies circulating in every market and village made that message inescapable. The penny was also a symbol of trust. For the economy to work, people had to believe that a penny was worth a penny. The king guaranteed its weight and the purity of its silver. To break that trust was a very serious crime indeed. One of the most common offenses was clipping. This involved shaving tiny slivers of silver from the edge of the coins. A clipper could gather a nice little pile of silver after clipping a few hundred pennies. But this devalued the currency and undermined the entire system. To stop this, kings brought in incredibly harsh punishments. If you were caught clipping coins, you could have your hand chopped off or even be castrated and blinded. It sounds barbaric, but it shows just how vital the integrity of the penny was. This wasn't just about protecting the economy, it was about protecting the king's honor. A debased coin was an insult to the monarch whose face was on it. Therefore, the people who actually made the coins, the moneyers, were held to an incredibly high standard. If a moneyer was found to be producing underweight or impure coins, the punishment was swift and brutal. In 1124, King Henry I summoned all the moneyers in England to Winchester and had them punished for debasing the currency. Chronicles say that almost all of them were mutilated. The message was crystal clear. The king's penny was sacred, and to tamper with it was to challenge the king himself. For centuries, the English penny had been a reliable silver coin. People trusted it. But in the 1540s, that all changed. King Henry VIII had a problem. He was a king who liked to spend big. He built magnificent palaces, bought lavish tapestries, and fought expensive wars in France and Scotland. His lifestyle was draining the royal treasury dry. He needed money, and he needed it fast. So, his advisors came up with a rather sneaky plan. It was called the Great Debasement. The idea was simple. They would reduce the amount of precious silver in each penny and replace it with cheap copper. The mints began churning out these new debased coins. At first nobody noticed. A penny still looked like a penny. But soon the truth began to wear through, literally. The thin silver coating on the outside of the coins would rub off with use, especially on the high points of the king's portrait. The nose, being the most prominent feature, would rub away first, revealing the reddish-brown copper underneath. This earned Henry the unflattering nickname Old Copper Nose. People were not amused. They felt cheated. The king, who was supposed to guarantee the value of his money, was actively deceiving them. The economic consequences were disastrous. Trust in the currency collapsed. As people realized the coins were not pure silver, prices for goods began to soar. This is what we call inflation. Why sell a chicken for 20 pennies if you know those pennies are mostly worthless copper? You demand 30 or even 40. Foreign merchants refused to accept the English coins, and trade suffered. It created chaos and uncertainty for everyone, but it hit the poorest people the hardest. Their savings, held in these debased pennies, were suddenly worth much less. The Great Debasement was a lesson in economics that the whole country learned the hard way. It took years to fix the damage. When Henry's young daughter, Elizabeth I, came to the throne, one of her first and most important acts was to restore the currency. In 1560, she launched a huge project to recall all the base coins and replace them with new, pure silver ones. It was a massive undertaking and a clever piece of public relations. She was showing her people that she was a responsible and trustworthy monarch, unlike her father. She was cleaning up his mess. The penny was once again a symbol of stability and royal integrity, but the memory of Old Copper Nose served as a warning for centuries to come about the dangers of meddling with the nation's money. For nearly 1,000 years, the penny had been a small silver coin. But the Industrial Revolution changed everything, including the penny itself. Britain was transforming. Factories were springing up, cities were growing, and a new working class needed to be paid. The old silver pennies were becoming too valuable for small, everyday purchases. There was a massive shortage of small change, and businesses had to get creative, often minting their own unofficial tokens for workers to use. The government knew it had to do something, so in 1797 they introduced a radical new penny. This was no ordinary coin. It was huge, heavy, and made of copper. Designed by Matthew Boulton at his state-of-the-art Soho Mint in Birmingham, it was the world's first coin to be mass-produced by a steam-powered press. It was so big and heavy, weighing exactly 1 ounce, that it quickly earned the nickname the cartwheel penny. The idea was that its value was intrinsic. The copper it was made from was actually worth a penny. This was a coin made for an age of iron, steam, and industry. It felt solid, dependable, and modern, a perfect symbol for a Britain that saw itself as the workshop of the world. The cartwheel penny and its smaller copper successors became the pocket money of Victorian Britain. They were the coins of the working people. A labourer might earn a few shillings a day, but it was in pennies that he would buy his bread, his beer, and a copy of the newspaper. For children, a penny was a small fortune. It could buy a bag of sweets, a comic, or entry to a penny gaff, a cheap and cheerful theatre show. The phrase, penny dreadful, comes from the cheap, sensational story papers that cost just 1 penny. The coin was woven into the fabric of daily life, for the masses, in a way the old silver penny never had been. This new copper penny also saw the introduction of a new, iconic image. While the monarch's head remained on the front, the back was now graced by the figure of Britannia. She sat proudly with her shield and trident, ruling the waves. This was pure propaganda, of course. It was a message of Britain's naval and imperial might, sent out on millions of coins to every corner of the country. Every time someone spent a penny, they were reminded of Britain's power. The penny wasn't just a tool for buying things, it was a daily dose of patriotism, a small piece of national identity that everyone, rich or poor, carried with them. As the British Empire expanded during the 19th and early 20th centuries, the penny went with it. It became a global currency, a symbol of British influence that travelled on ships to the farthest flung corners of the world. In colonies across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean, the British penny, or coins modelled directly on it, was introduced as the official currency. This was presented as a great act of progress, a way of bringing modern commerce and civilization to these lands. The penny was part of the toolkit of empire, along with the railway, the telegraph, and the English language. On the surface, this standardization seemed efficient. A soldier in India, a farmer in Kenya, and a factory worker in Manchester all used coins that looked similar and were part of the same imperial system. The monarch's head on the coins, first Queen Victoria, then her successors, was a constant reminder that they were all subjects of the same vast empire. The penny became a token of connection, a small, tangible link between the metropole and the colonies. It helped to bind the empire together economically, creating a huge sterling trading zone where British money was the standard. However, there was a much darker side to the penny's global journey. The introduction of British currency was often a tool of control and exploitation. In many colonies, local, traditional systems of trade and barter were swept away and replaced by a cash economy that primarily benefited the British. To force people into this new system, colonial governments would impose taxes, like the Hutt tax in parts of Africa, that had to be paid in British coins. To earn these coins, people had no choice but to leave their villages and work for colonial businesses, often on plantations or in mines for very low wages. So, while the penny brought progress for some, for many others it brought hardship and the loss of their economic independence. It was a symbol of a new economic order in which they were at the bottom. The same penny that a child in London might use to buy sweets was earned by a labourer in the colonies through back-breaking work under a system designed to extract wealth for the empire. The humble penny, therefore, carries a complex and often painful imperial legacy. It was a coin with two faces, representing not just the power of the British monarch, but also the deep inequalities of the empire she ruled. For centuries, British money had been a gloriously complicated system of pounds, shillings, and pence. There were 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound, meaning there were 240 of the old pennies in a pound. School children had to learn complex arithmetic just to handle their pocket money. But by the 1960s, in a world of computers and international trade, this ancient system felt hopelessly old-fashioned. Britain decided to modernize. On the 15th of February 1971, the country went decimal. The pound was now divided into 100 new pence. This was a huge cultural shock. An event called Decimal Day, or D-Day, marked the changeover. There were massive public information campaigns with songs, TV shows, and pamphlets explaining the new system. For a while, prices in shops were shown in both old and new money to help people adjust. But for many, the change was confusing and even upsetting. The trusty old penny, a coin that had been around in some form for over 1,200 years, was gone. In its place was the new penny, a smaller bronze coin. It just didn't feel the same. It was worth 2.4 of the old pennies, so it wasn't a direct replacement. The link to the past had been broken. The arrival of the new penny marked the beginning of the end for the coin's importance. Its value was immediately diminished. Before 1971, a single old penny could still buy you a handful of sweets. But the new penny was a chunkier unit of currency, and its purchasing power was less impressive. Worse was to come. The 1970s and 1980s were decades of high inflation. Prices rose relentlessly, and the value of money in your pocket seemed to shrink every year. What a penny could buy became less and less. The sweets it once bought soon cost 2 pence, then 5, then 10. By the 1980s, the term new penny was officially dropped, and it became just the penny again. But it was a shadow of its former self. Inflation had eaten away at its value so much that it was becoming almost worthless. In 1984, the halfpenny coin, which had been introduced with decimalization, was withdrawn from circulation. It simply cost more to make than it was worth. The penny itself was heading in the same direction. It had gone from being the bedrock of the nation's economy to being little more than a nuisance, the small annoying coin you get in your change and drop into a charity box. Today we are living through the next great monetary revolution. This time, it isn't about a new type of coin, it's about the disappearance of coins altogether. We live in an age of digital money. We tap our contactless cards, we pay with our phones, we send money with a click of a button. In this world, the physical penny seems like a relic from a bygone era. Many of us go for days or even weeks without handling any cash at all. The jingle of coins in our pockets, once a familiar sound of daily life, is fading into silence. The penny is becoming obsolete. The arguments against the penny are now overwhelming. For a start, it is incredibly uneconomical. The cost of mining the metal, minting the coin, and then transporting it around the country is now greater than the face value of the penny itself. It literally costs more than a penny to make a penny. This seems utterly absurd. Many countries, including Canada, Australia, and Ireland, have already taken the logical step of scrapping their lowest denomination coins. They simply round cash transactions to the nearest 5 cents. The penny, it seems, is living on borrowed time. For many people, the penny is just clutter. It's the coin that fills up our purses and jars at home. We collect them, but we rarely spend them. Shops have to deal with the hassle of counting them, and banks have to process them. Its practical use in transactions is now almost zero. You can't buy anything with a single penny. Its only real function is to make up exact prices like £9.99. But in a world of card payments, even that role is diminishing. The penny has moved from being the most important coin in the kingdom to being the least important. Its fall from grace has been total. So, is this the end of the penny's long and storied journey? It certainly looks that way. And when it finally goes, we will be losing more than just a coin. We will be losing a piece of our history. The penny's story is Britain's story. It was born with the English nation. It built the economy. It projected the power of kings and empire, and it was in the pockets of the people who powered the Industrial Revolution. Its slow decline from a mighty silver coin to a worthless piece of copper-plated steel mirrors the changing fortunes of Britain itself. The penny was once a symbol of immense power and global reach. Soon it will be just a